Welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast
with our mom,
Misty Bailey. Tips and encouragement
for
real-life homeschooling
is headed your way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. I am your host, Misty Bailey, and I am here today with my good friend, Davonne Parks, to talk to you about back to school. How are you today, Davonne?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great.
Good.
If anybody can hear, I have a printer going in the background, which I thought about turning off, but I felt that it perfectly signified back to school for me right now. So I'm going to let it be. So, Davonne, before we dive in with back to school, do you have, can you just, how is your life? How is everything going for you?
Pretty good. I have some big news, I guess. Do you want me to share it now, or are we saving that?
Oh, I think we should just dive right into that.
Okay. Well, I am pregnant. We are expecting our third child in December. My girls are 15 and the other one will be 11 in just a couple weeks. And now we're having a boy. So we're pretty excited.
I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. And my sister is due September 11th, and I'm going to be getting to be a Mimi again, and we will also have a baby this back to school time, not in the same capacity as you, because I can send mine home, and I also am not going to be as sleep deprived as you. But I do think this is going to play a part in your back to school routine, if I'm thinking correctly.
I would say it's going to have to. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So congratulations. I just
Thank
wanted you
you
to share that with everybody.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yeah. Okay. So what about kids in school? When are you guys starting back to school with homeschooling?
Okay. Well, we're not completely sure yet. We usually start our start date kind of depends on our travel times, because a lot of times we'll start a little bit earlier with the intent of we're going to go on a trip for a week in September. Right now, with everything being up in the air, we have so many things up in the air, so I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea when we're going to start. The earliest, August 10th, and the latest would probably be Labor Day week.
Okay.
So somewhere in there.
Yeah. So we're about the same. So we normally start the week after our county fair. Well, I take that back. Our county fair is normally the first full week of August, and we do 4-H, so we're at the fair all week. So the week after that, we normally stay home, like kind of, just get over being gone the whole week before, and I do any last minute preparations for school, and then we normally start the week after that. So in a typical year, that would have us starting August 24th. But our county fair was canceled, but Kristen is still going to be showing horses one day at the fair. So I don't know. I'm thinking we might go ahead and start August 17th, because Allison's live classes and Kristen's not doing live classes with Mr. D. She's doing just the regular class, but she's supposed to start that the week of August 17th. So I feel like since they're both going to be starting math back and Allison's going to be starting Spanish back that week, that we may go ahead and just start full force August 17th. But if not, we're going to start back August 24th.
Okay. Yeah, and I was kind of leaning towards, like, I'm just not sure. Sometimes it depends on how we feel. Like, we'll get to a point where we're like, okay, we're ready for a routine. So we'll go ahead and start. And other times we're just like, we are not ready for summer to be over yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we somewhat go by how we feel. We're hoping, and part of it depends, because we're still in this pandemic. But we do have some travel plans tentatively in mind that we would like to do if we're able to. But of course, again, all of that's up in the air. Like, we're doing state history as a family right now. So I guess we're kind of sort of in a little bit of school. We're doing this during morning basket time. We got this Kentucky history textbook. It's a public school textbook, but we're really enjoying it. So we're just doing a lesson a day as a family. And then whenever we're done, we actually bought last week, we've been looking for months and just finally got a 15-passenger van. And yeah. So we've made jokes about how now we're stereotypical homeschool family because we are having another kid and getting a big van. But the plan is to take take most of the seats out and convert it into a camper van. So we'll have like an air mattress back there or some kind of foam mat.
Gosh, I'm like, I know this is like your dream. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is my dream. Misty knows I have this big dream to go like tour the United States and be gone for a long time. So yeah, we want to do 2-week tour of Kentucky after we finish this textbook and actually visit the places that we've learned about. And Nathan wanted to get a van because he's like, especially with having a baby, we don't want to stop traveling. We love traveling. Sometimes babies don't sleep well in new places, and then you've got like weather to consider. So being able to sleep in the van will help climate control, and also just it will feel familiar to a baby, like in the future.
Yeah.
So this trip we're planning on doing just while I'm still pregnant. But what it allows us to do is pull up into a campsite, get in the back, sleep, and then shower and pull out. Like we don't have to set up or tear down tents or hammocks or anything else. So it will enable us to go a lot more places without it being hassle.
Yeah.
So
and
we're pretty excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. That is so exciting.
Yeah, I've talked for years, Misty knows, like I've talked to her about this, like just I want to travel and I want to just like pack up and go. And my husband, something really good that came out of this for our family with quarantine was my husband discovered, we own a local computer service company, and he discovered that he is able to work remotely, which is awesome. So he's like, well, we can go do this trip and I'll just work on the road. Like I can drive while he's working. He can get up a little early and do work in the mornings. We can even pack up, we homeschool, we can pack up schoolwork. And the girl, everybody can do school in the morning or the evening, and the rest of the time we can spend out exploring. So, yeah, we've got plans. We'll see. We'll have to do a podcast episode about that or talk about it.
You're going to end up being like an RV schooler or something. I just
totally
know.
am.
You are, yeah.
That is my dream. I told the girls, I'm like, yeah, I want to like, even if Daddy can't take off time from work, I want us to go and just.
Well, we've talked
go
about
for a couple days somewhere.
Well, me and we talked about before about going and doing all of the little House on the Prairie sites, because that's like been my dream my whole entire life is to go see them. And I was supposed to go this summer to Missouri and see the Rocky Ridge Farm, and then our trip was canceled because of stupid coronavirus. And so maybe we just need to go. Like, we'll just all sleep in your van, all of us. Myself, my 3. Maybe we should just leave the boys. We'll wait till the baby's a little bit older. We'll leave the boys, and us girls are all go.
That's funny. Yeah. Before our older ones graduate, which is so weird that we're even thinking about that, because they're going to be sophomores.
I know. We will. We'll have to. Maybe we'll do it for their senior trip. They'll be so excited to spend their senior trip with their moms.
I could go out west twice. I have plans already. Like, I want to take a month Lily's senior year and just go out west and explore.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, but I could go twice. I'm totally up for going west twice.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that because it's on record. Okay. So where are you at with the planning process for back to school? So as my printer is going, we're using Gather Around Homeschool this year, and I have spent all week printing off all of our units, and I feel like it takes forever. But I got an Epson 2720 printer, and I have to say, I have printed now. I just opened my 3rd or 4th 500 pack of paper. And yeah, printed off that many pages. And my black is getting pretty low, but part of that's from just other stuff. But the colored ink is like perfect. Like it's barely budged. And so I have to say it's nice. But I did not realize how much time it was going to take to print off 8 units times 3 kids plus the teacher's guide. That's 32 packets, and each packet is about 100 pages.
Now, does your printer print front and back?
Well, so, my husband offered to pay the $30 extra. He's like, the $30 extra.
You are just about to spend $30 in extra paper right now.
Oh, listen, I guarantee you I've already spent the $30 extra in paper, because he did. He said, well, why don't we just go ahead and get the other printer for $30 more? And I'm like, who needs to do that? Like, it's fine. It'll be totally okay. And oh my goodness. And so then people in the Gather Around Homeschool group, they're like, well, it's okay. Like, you can print double-sided with this printer. You just have to print the odd pages, then flip it over and print the even pages. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a lot of work.
It is.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
Time is money. That's a lot of time to do that.
So I'm like, for anybody listening, pay the extra $30 for the Epson 2760 that also does double-sided. It might be worth it.
Yeah. I was just talking about my printer to my husband because he picked it out. Like, since we're in the technology industry, I do finances and he does the technology part. So he got me a Color LaserJet Pro, and it says MPF M281 FDW, whatever that means. I don't know. But what I do know is it prints double-sided, it prints in color, and it has a scanner and a copier all in one, and it's right next to my desk. It has simplified my life so much because I used to email Nathan or email our shop manager a link if we wanted stuff printed in color because we only had a black and white printer here. So they'd print it in color, or I'd have to go to the office and print it in color and get it home. And if I needed to scan anything, I'd have to go to work to scan it. And this is great because I can just scan right here and email a document, like scan, sign, email, done.
Yeah.
In less time than it would take me to give somebody else instructions to get it ready for me. So I love it. I love that it's two-sided because it saves there have been lots of times that I've printed documents for the girls, like, an 18-page PDF, and it only takes 9 pieces of paper. So
yeah,
I'm going to say, yes, I agree. Get the double-sided printer.
Yeah. Well, and I was the same. Like, I've homeschooled forever and never had a colored printer, and I would print from the library if I needed to print something in color, and I did it very rarely. And I will say, especially since I'm buying the higher quality, like I'm buying 24-pound paper. So each pack of paper is like $6 for 500 sheets. Now, I did say I did get a good deal on a sale at Staples, and I thought I bought enough paper for the school year, but I don't think I did. So I think I paid like $3 a pack or something, but typically it's $6 a pack. And so, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm like, I should have bought the double-sided printer, but I will also say that I feel like I'm a real homeschool mom right now because in the planning process, so the last 2 days, I have been printing, I've been hole punching, I've been putting in binders. I went to Walmart today. It's on my Instagram stories, and I bought school supplies, and I was super duper excited about it. And I also bought, for the first time after, like, I'm starting my 11th year homeschooling, I bought a laminator. I've never had a laminator, and I bought one, and I'm pretty excited about it for Gather Round because, like, it comes in the back. It comes with these little cards, and we're starting off the year with government, which I feel is really important considering our current political climate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I'm starting with government, and so, like, there's founding father cards, and, like, they're front and back. And so I'm like, oh, I need to buy a laminator. I've never really had a reason to buy a laminator before. And so I bought a laminator too. So I feel like I'm really homeschooling now.
That's fun. See, I bought a laminator years ago when the girls were real small, and I hardly ever use it anymore.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have whenever you are using it. And I'll probably use it again for this little guy in my belly right now. Because it seems like, at least for me, I did more of like that type of thing when they were small.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just my personality and like where I've changed as a teacher, or if that has anything to do with the age of the kids. I'm not sure. But mine's just like a little, like, it can print up to 8.5 by 11. So it doesn't do anything big, but it's big enough.
Yeah, mine was like the cheap one. Mine was the cheap one at Walmart. But I bought
mine
like
was cheap on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I bought like laminating pouches whenever the girls were small. I bought laminating pouches. And so I didn't have a laminator. But then I also, with Daniel, I used sheet protectors instead of laminating. Those. Yep. And I think you're the one that told me about it. And he could use it, and then we could just wipe it off. And so I used a lot of sheet protectors with him. But anyway, I was pretty excited about that. My husband's like, this curriculum is costing us a lot of money. I had to buy 32 binders.
Woo!
32 binders because we're planning on doing 6 to 8 units. I'm planning for 8, but we might only get to 6. And for 3 kids plus me, I had to buy all the paper. We bought a bi-colored printer. I bought a laminator. But I'm excited. Like, I am excited about homeschooling this year. I've loved the curriculum we've used in the past. I really have. But there's something about this year where I know we're going to kind of all be together. I've missed the girls in homeschooling. Yeah. I've missed everybody being together. And so I kind of feel like I'm kind of cherishing it because Allison will be doing post-secondary her junior and senior year, which is like college credit plus, like where you do college and high school. And so I know like she's probably not going to spend a lot of time with us for school and stuff. Like it's like our last year. So I'm really wanting to kind of go back to the basics of how we started homeschooling with everybody together before, you know, I had a wide age gap and stuff. And so I'm excited about it. So that's where we are in the planning process. How about you?
Podcast sponsors make the Joyfully Homeschooling podcast possible. So let's take some time to learn more about our current sponsor, Gentle Guitar. Inga and I chatted about Gentle Guitar and the importance of music in episode 109. She reminded me that our kids can get a high-quality musical education even when we can't carry a tune. Gentle Guitar can help. Music instruction is so important. Students who have early musical training will develop the areas of the brain related to language and reasoning. The left side of the brain is better developed with music, and songs can help imprint information on young minds. But wait a minute, how can you do that when you have no idea how to play a musical instrument? One resource we have been using to help in this area is Gentle Guitar. We've had more time to do fun things that interest the kids during the lockdown, and one thing Daniel has wanted to learn is how to play an instrument. This has been a productive way to keep this high-energy kiddo learning and entertained, and a bonus is the whole family can participate. Want to learn more? You can get a free trial lesson on Skype or Zoom, and 20% off the first month if you use code JOY at checkout. Go to findingjoyinthejourney.net/guitar. That's findingjoyinthejourney.net/guitar to learn more about our current podcast sponsor, Gentle Guitar. Now, on with the podcast.
So this school year is for Grace is pretty much going to be a continuum from last school year. Like she likes everything she's doing. She doesn't love her grammar, like her English book, but we have tried several things, and I think it's just that she doesn't have the patience for that type of thing in general. She's a really good writer, but she doesn't want to have like a structured curriculum. And I don't make her do a lot of structure with it, but I'm like, you at least need to know like what and now, like what is a noun, you know? So there's some basic things that I feel like she's missing, and not in a bad way. I don't think that she really needed a lot of structure before now, but you know, she's going to be in middle school. So I'm like, it's kind of time to do this. And I also think it's good discipline for her because both of my girls, we've talked about this before about our kids like enjoying the curriculum, and it's important to us that our kids enjoy the curriculum. But I think it's also important sometimes for them to just have to do something because it's the right thing to do. Whether or not they enjoy it. So I think this is good character building for her to not love her language arts program and to have to do it anyways. And it's not that bad. It takes her like 10 or 15 minutes a day. So she'll survive it. But yeah, so we're basically doing a continuation. She's got Mystery of History Volume 4 that she's about halfway through. So she's going to finish that. And then I want to switch her over to Knotgrass. So we'll see how that goes. She's still doing Apologia for Science. She loves that. For Lily, her school is completely up in the air right now. We have two very, very different routes that we might take. One of them is kind of continuing what she's done this year with Knotgrass History, Apologia Science, Saxon Math, that kind of thing, using Nicole the Math Lady and stuff. The other route, there is this thing called Early Admit, and it's with Freed-Hardeman University in Tennessee, and it's for upcoming sophomores, and they take their courses online through the college, and then whenever they graduate, So they do the sophomore, junior, senior year. Whenever they graduate high school, they will also have a college associate's degree at the same time. So she's considering that. She's already made it through the first step of the application process, and she's now like continuing on with that. So that would be why we would start August 10th. If she gets into that and decides to go forth, the start date for that school is August 10th. So that would like totally change everything that I've had planned for the rest of her high school. But she wants to go there for college, and it's kind of pricey between like it's a private school plus room and board and stuff. So if she does the early admit program, that's a huge, like steeply discounted rate, and it would end up saving us over $60,000.
Oh, wow. And what is the name of this program?
It's called Early Admit.
Freed-Hardeman University?
Yeah, Freed-Hardeman University in, I think, Henderson, Tennessee. Yeah.
Wow, that's big decisions.
I know. It's a very big decision.
Okay, so did you have anything to share as far as the planning process? So it seems like for you, everything's kind of up in the air until you hear back from this admit program.
Yeah, pretty much. And right now, the next steps are on us. Like we are working on her transcript because we've got to get that turned in. And I have her one-page transcript done, just that shows the class and the grade. But then I'm also doing a separate thing with the course summaries. And I don't know if they'll even care, but I kind of want that for myself anyways, just for records. So I'm working on that right now with Lily. And then she's got to get a couple academic letters of recommendation. And I feel like it needs to be maybe from somebody who doesn't share her last name.
Yes, probably. That might be a good idea.
Yeah, so she's working on that. We've got a couple people in mind that she's going to call actually later this afternoon and see if they'll be willing to do that for her. But the other thing that we're doing right now is, I briefly talked about it just a few minutes ago, was morning basket. And that's something that Misty and I have talked about so many times on her podcast. And I'm always like, I'm a huge fail at morning basket. Like, I want to do it so badly and I keep failing. So we're actually doing it consistently now.
Yay!
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. For us, what has changed, a couple things that we mentioned, like we were doing some problem solving the last time we talked, I think, about this, is like I am a type B, but I'm also a perfectionist. So that's really bad because I'm inconsistent. And then if I can't do something perfectly, I think I don't need to do it at all. And I just have to like drop that desire for perfection. But our morning basket is sitting out right now in the corner of a counter that we don't really need that countertop space, but it's nice that it sits there where we can see it so we don't forget. But probably the biggest thing that's been helping though is my husband, like his strong suit is he's very like routine oriented. And he's very steady. And whereas I'm more like spontaneous and I'll go by how I feel at that particular moment. And he's more like, no, this is what's here. Like, this is what we're doing. So he had asked me one time a couple months ago, he said, well, and this was when I was in my first trimester of pregnancy. So I was like sleeping all the time. And I've been dealing with migraines this pregnancy that have been difficult. And he was asking what he could do to help. But he also works really long hours. So his time to help is not a lot. But I said, and he never knows what time he's going to get home from work. So I can't really ask for his help with other things because we just don't know. Like that part couldn't be consistent from him. But I had told him, like, we really struggle in the morning with a consistent time and a consistent routine. And I think if we could get help in the morning, just like doing something for everybody to get going and, get dressed and do some basic things in the morning, I think that would really change the tone of our day. Like, I think we could be a lot more productive during the day, or even if I have a migraine and need to go lay down, like the girls are at least started. So he started getting up, and not every day, but most days now, we are getting together as a family around the table and we're eating breakfast and having a little devotional, and we're doing a lesson from our Kentucky State history book together, and then in a prayer, and then he leaves for work, and then the girls and I do the rest of our morning basket, except for times that like some mornings I have to get out the door or I feel really, really terrible, which those are getting less now because I'm in second trimester. I'm feeling a lot better. So those mornings we are just doing it as a family, and then the rest doesn't get done at all. But what's happening is because we're already there, the stuff's already out, we're already at least doing some things as a family, and then the majority of the time we're going ahead and we're doing the others. And I simplified it. I pulled some stuff out that I just felt like this is too much. This is part of the reason we're failing because I'm trying to do too much with it. And anything that if everyone doesn't enjoy it, it was gone. Like I wanted morning time to just be this special time that everyone can enjoy together. So it's now completely enjoyable. So it's something that we all look forward to. Breakfasts are easy. Like some mornings somebody gets up early and cooks. Like sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Lily. A lot of mornings we're just eating like toast or cereal, and that's fine too. Like it's not this big fancy thing. Like sometimes we only sit there for 15 minutes together. Sometimes we're there for half an hour together. Sometimes the girls and I might sit around the table for an hour, but other times it's just the 15 minutes. And so taking that pressure off myself to be perfect, taking that pressure off myself to do something that I'm not enjoying during it, and also leaning into one of my husband's strengths instead of just relying on myself whenever I know I struggle with consistency. That has helped tremendously. And I do feel like I was right in that it just changes the tone of the day because everybody's up and moving at a good time, and just starting out the day being productive in a good way instead of getting off to a bad start and then just trying to play catch up for the rest of the day.
So do you think you'll keep morning basket going whenever you start back to school, like officially?
Yes. We actually started this while we were still doing school. I want to say we started it maybe in April.
After our
maybe
curriculum
May.
episode?
Yeah, it was like right after. It was whenever we recorded that, I want to say it was the next day that we started morning basket.
Good job.
Yes.
Because we talked about it.
Yes, we did. And I was like so motivated, and he was ready to step in and help. So I'm just,
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been good. And I'm also really excited too because I want to do it with the baby, and especially with there being such a large age gap between my kids, I think it'll be really nice to have something that we're all doing as a family. And I thought, we can put like little baby picture books in there and stuff to add to it so that there's something for the baby, but also something for everybody.
Oh, that's a good idea. So do you think that, like, I know that it sounds like both of us do a more traditional school year.
Yes.
Have you ever done year round? You going to plan on doing traditional year round? Like, how do you figure out your school year?
We did year round one time and I hated it. I will never do it again.
I think we did it the same year.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. And I know some people do it and love it. And like I said, we are doing morning basket. My girls actually, I don't even know if I want to say this on the air, but they're not quite done with their math curriculum from last year. So they're still doing that. I told them they cannot be on full summer break until that's over. And the reason is because while I was sleeping for 3 months, they watched a lot of Netflix and Disney Plus. Which in a way, I mean, is partly my fault because I wasn't checking every day, but I mean, that just is what it is. Fatigues and constant migraines. It was a rough few months there.
Well, I think that that's understandable though. And I think that's one of the parts that's beautiful about homeschooling is, being able to be flexible like that and to be able to take life when it happens and then tweak the schedule. And I think that that's one reason a lot of people probably do year-round school. It never worked for us. We tried it twice. I think we did it 1 year. We were miserable.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe it's just a 1 year thing. Maybe we'll try again next year. And no, it was no better. And so we switched to traditional about halfway through the year. But we do a traditional schedule, but also normally for us, my girls are gone during the summer at camp.
Yeah.
And Kristen does a lot of 4-H and stuff during the summer. So the learning happens all summer long anyway. I will say I made the mistake of not continuing with Daniel math and reading this summer because he did so well on his end of the year testing. And I felt like he had come so far that like I normally the past 2 years have had him like keep doing a little bit of math, a little bit of reading and stuff 2 days a week. And I hadn't done that for like all of June and May once we stopped because we finished early in May. And we went to Tennessee right in the middle of when they were reopening. And so I started him the other day. I was like, well, we hadn't finished our teaching textbooks either for him. And so I was like, well, let's just hop back on and see how this is going to go. And he had forgotten everything. And so we have now started with him math and reading 2 to 3 days a week. I told him, I'm like, we can do one a day and do it every day, or we can do both 2 to 3 days a week. And so he's not been happy with me, but I can see why people do year round, especially if you have a special needs kiddo. I'd never had that problem with the girls, but I can totally see it, like why people do that when they have kids with learning struggles, because we literally had tears. I'm like, how in the world did you forget what 5 take away 2 is? Like, how do you forget that? Like, like, how do you forget how to read a ruler? Like, we worked so hard on carrying and multiplication, and like in 6 weeks, you've forgotten everything? Like, what's a decimal point when it comes to writing dollar and cents? Are you kidding me? Like, oh my gosh.
God.
So I can see why people do year round.
And I know people who say they don't do year round, but then they do, like, their kids will do a math worksheet every day or something. So there's that. But I'm kind of with you though, as far as like the learning happens all summer, because my girls they'll do summer camp. We just like time to chill out. We do a lot of pool or creek time in the summer usually, and I also feel like they learn so much in the summer. They have so much time for baking and audiobooks and just being outside exploring. They learn a tremendous amount, and I almost feel like doing a lot with textbooks would hinder that.
Yeah.
Even with morning time and their math. And Lily's in algebra too, so math takes her a little bit. But her schooling is, including the morning basket, she's got maybe an hour and a half on the days that she does it. And if there's a day that we're going somewhere, like we just went and visited some family recently, and so she was with my mom for a week. I don't think she did any math during that week. She took it with her, but I didn't care. I was like, don't stress about it. So we're kind of being relaxed about it, because I don't want it to ruin their summer, and I don't want them to start out the school year just so burnt out because they didn't do anything fun and didn't have a break because they were doing math all summer.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I've been afraid about with him. But he doesn't do a lot like during the summer, like the girls do, not yet. He's still young. So I don't know. He complained to his dad this morning, Mom is making me do math every single day, and it's supposed to be summer vacation. He's really upset with me because I promised 104 days of summer vacation like Phineas and Ferb. And so in his mind, he's not getting that because he has to do a little bit of math every day. And so, we've got some complaining here. So whenever you do back to school, do you do like a soft start or do you dive right in?
It really depends on the school year and our season of life. We have done a soft start a few times. Typically, though, we generally will dive right in. And by that, what I mean is the first day, we do like everybody dresses up and we do the fancy back to school photo and we kind of get our stuff set up. And I count that as day one because I've never been prepared enough to have like everything ready for day one. So we spend day one kind of making sure that everyone's set up with all of their supplies and everything that they need for the year. And then if any learning happens that day, it's bonus. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, I'm like, in public school, they don't learn anything the first day, at least not for the early years, because this is what they're doing. They're getting their kids acclimated. So it's not a big deal. But then day two, we pretty much go with everything. Sometimes stuff does take longer that first week or so just because people are kind of figuring it out. So if that's the case, I don't stress about it. We might wait and start a subject or two a week or two later. But yeah, for the most part, we just take that one day of the first day and then we just kind of dive in. And you guys do soft start though.
Yeah, we do a soft start. And so what we normally do is, so like our first week of school, we might just start back with language arts and math. And then the next week we might add science. The next week we add history. And our goal is to be running full force by Labor Day.
Yeah.
So by the week of Labor Day, that's our goal, is to be full force. Now, I don't know how we're going to do our soft start this year, because if we start the 17th, like the 19th, 20th, and 21st of that week, I'm supposed to be in Columbus at like a science lab with the girls. So I thought of that after I talked about our first week of school. I'm like, I don't know that I can actually start the week of the 17th, because we have 2 days. Then we'll be in Columbus for 3 days doing science labs and then back. So I don't really know how we're going to do that this year, but that's normally our goal. Our goal is to be starting fully by the week of Labor Day, and like that Tuesday, because we do take Labor Day off. And so if we wait and start the last week of August, we only have 1 week of soft start. But we normally take it easy our first couple weeks. And I found that works best for us, because if not, it is hard to just jump in full force with everything, with 3 kids and 3 different levels. And Daniel's still requiring so much of my attention. I feel like we need to kind of work out kinks with different things, work out kinks with our routine. Because like I said, he does still require so much of my attention with school. And so that was kind of how we've done it the past couple of years. And it works well. The kids like it that way. And we normally still end up done at the same time every year. It hasn't really had a huge impact on when we finish school.
Yeah. And we might kind of do a soft start unintentionally, because I know it seems like that first week or two, things can take longer, especially with the little ones who do need more help getting started. So I might have plans for them to do every subject every day, but then if something happens and it's going to take longer, I'll just kind of drop something and I don't stress about it. Or a lot of times what ends up happening is, because since we generally do start a little earlier so that we can take a trip like September or October, is that whenever we're starting, there are still summer activities going on. So we might do school 2 days or 3 days the first week, and then the other days are filled with activities. So we're kind of only doing half school in a way, because we're only doing it half of the days for the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of have a soft
start. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a soft start, just in a different way than yours are, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. Like, and I like, the next question is, what is your best back to school tip? And I think that would probably be my best back to school tip, is to kind of do a soft start and kind of ease yourself into fully going back to school. Like, I think this year, with us having Daniel do reading and math 2 or 3 days a week as we lead up to school, I think that's going to make him transitioning back to school easier. And so that would almost be considered like a soft start for him. You know, if we do start school on the 17th and we do 2 days of school and then go to the science labs are still school. Like, that's 3 days of high school lab credits. And for anybody wondering, that's through college prep science. And I can leave a link to that in the show notes. He'll actually, I think he's on the podcast the week after this episode airs. So if anybody's, wants to learn more about that, but, and then the next week, we would do a little bit more. And so I think soft starts are just really nice for mom and kids, and it's going to look different for everybody. But I know the one time when I had all 3 kids in school, it was Daniel's first year of preschool, I think, or he might've, I don't know, he was 3 or 4. But we went jumping in full force that year. And our day lasted forever, and it was miserable. Like, our first week of school was absolutely miserable, and we all hated it. And so after that, I kind of started easing into school a little bit. And it was just a lot easier on us. What is your best back to school tip?
I think my best back to school tip kind of goes along with yours, and that is just to keep a positive attitude. Things will go wrong. Things will not go as planned. Maybe the curriculum didn't come in on time, or a kid is struggling or having a bad attitude. Something's going to go awry. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. And if the mom can keep a positive attitude, that helps the atmosphere so much. And even if less learning is happening in those first few weeks than what you wanted, the positive attitude matters a lot more than what's actually getting checked off the list. And that's something we never would have said whenever we first started homeschooling. But now that we've been doing it long enough, I think Missy and I have both learned how much our attitudes matter and how much the relationship with our kids matters. And if we have a positive relationship with our kids, that's really setting us up for success too with their education, because they're going to be more, generally speaking, they're going to be more receptive to doing what they need to do if we have a good attitude, good relationship with them. So yeah, just keep it positive even if things are going awry.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. And I think that makes the whole attitude of back to school so much better. And
Yes.
I would also say that if you start back to school and things are going rough and you're not enjoying yourself, shut the books for the day. Like, wait and start the next day. Yes, there's going to be parts of school we don't enjoy. There's going to be parts of homeschooling we don't enjoy. But if you see everybody's attitude, everybody having poor attitudes, mom having poor attitude, kids in tears, definitely go do something fun. Take a break, start over the next day and kind of see how things go. We do something fun every year for our first day. It's not really our first day of school, but every year on the first day of public school, we meet at the park with our homeschool group and do a not back to school day. And that normally ends up falling into our first week of school, or at least our second week of school. And we totally count that as a school day. And it's something the kids look forward to every year, because it's like, oh, well, we got 3 or 4 days into school, but now we get to take a day off and we get to go to the park with our friends. And we watch like the buses go by, and we get the park to ourselves with not a lot of other people there, or nobody else there but us. And it's just like a fun way to celebrate not going back to school or not going back to public school. And a lot of families in our homeschool group, they don't start back to school until after the not back to school day or after Labor Day. Find a day that works best for your family and that kind of fits your needs, and don't make back to school like this huge amount of pressure.
Yeah. And I think too, and some people can't take the rest of the day off. And I think if you can, do it. But if you can't, at least find a way to reset a little bit. Maybe you need to apologize to a kid. Maybe you need to take 30 minutes and everybody just go chill out in their room for half an hour. Maybe you need to turn on an audiobook during lunch so that you can have some time for your own mental sanity. Whatever it is that you need to do to reset your day, do it and regroup, and then you can get back to the books, even if you need to get back that day. So yeah, and I love the not back to school. We've gone to that several times, and that's always a lot of fun. And that kind of goes along with something, which I guess yours is planned, but Sarah McKenzie, I think she might have talked about this in Teaching from Rust, her book, but she had said that they take Just Because We Can days.
Yes.
And she said that the way that sometimes her kids will talk about it is, or maybe it was her friend's kid, because she might have learned about it from a friend or something, but like the way that this kid would talk about it, you would think that they take time off school all the time and that they hardly ever do actual school. But she said it's maybe 3 times a year. And it's just because we can, we're going to go do this thing over here. And it's totally spontaneous. And the kids love it. And I've actually incorporated that. I might do more than 3 times a year because I am a big field trip person. I love adventures. And something else that Sarah McKenzie had said was, whatever it is that brings life into your homeschool, like whatever it is that makes you think, this is why we do this, incorporate just a little bit more of that into your school. And for me, it's those field trips. It's those Just Because We Can days. So last year, in May or maybe early June. So we might have been done with school. I don't remember. But anyways, just because we could, we took a day trip to Columbus and went to Zoombezi Bay for the day. And we had a blast. And that was kind of our end of the school year. I try to end our school year with a bang. Like whether it's early that we're ending that year or this year we're ending kind of late, but I try to make that special. Like there's something that I do with just my kids. This is a special thing just because we can. So we did that. Another day last year, this was totally spontaneous. I got on Facebook and a friend had posted, Frozen is at the Paramount today. And it was like, we had to leave 10 minutes from the time that I saw this post to go see this play. None of us had showered. We were all still in pajamas. And I'm like, girls, go get ready. And we ended up being, I want to say maybe 15 minutes late, but by the time they seat the kids and do the intro, the announcements, like we got there very early in the show. So we all took the fastest showers and we got in the car faster than I think we ever have. We went, we watched that Frozen play. Then we got food from Kroger, took it to the river, ate lunch at the river, and then went to the theater and saw the live, is it live action? You know, they're making all these Disney movies live action, but it was The Lion King. So I don't know if you call
That was
that
a good
live
one
action.
too. Yes.
Yeah. So we went and saw it. So it was like a double feature day. But that, like, Grace still talks about that. And I want to say that was over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And she still talks about that day. But those Just Because We Can days breathe so much life and enjoyment into our school. And Grace loves it. Lily, where she's very type A, she has told me that it is really fun to have a spontaneous mom, but also a lot of really stressful.
Yeah.
So I do try when possible to give her a heads up. So I kind of surprise Grace, I think, a little bit more than I surprise Lily if I do know in advance. I'll go ahead and like, hey, Lily, just let you know so you can plan for this. Because I try to honor and respect that in her personality. But yeah, those Just Because We Can days, I love those. Those, like I said, they only happen a few times a year. It's not going to wreck your school year.
Mm-hmm.
Take 3 days over the entire school year and go do something fun. And you can even plan it as the mom. For me, it's all spontaneous. It's just, I feel like doing this. So just because we can, we're going to go do this today. But as the homeschool mom, if you are type A and needs a plan, you can plan it and not tell your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah McKenzie said that in the mornings, like what happens, how they do it is they'll just be eating breakfast and she'll go, oh, by the way, just because we can, we're going to go do this today. And like her kids aren't supposed to get out their school books. They're just supposed to go get dressed and get in the car and then they go have fun. So she just very casually over their morning routine lets them know. And I think that's just so much fun. And I love those days.
Yeah, and I think that they're important, especially as our kids get older. I know my kids, whenever their friends ask, like they say they like their public school friends, they love homeschooling, and they'll mention reasons why. And a lot of times those reasons why are because of things that you just said. We have the flexibility to go do those things whenever it's not busy, and because we homeschool. And I think that is a huge benefit of homeschooling are those extra Just Because You Can days, or, you know, the extra field trips, or the kids are not going to remember the textbooks. They're going to remember the experiences. And I think it's very, very important when you're going back to school to remember to plan for some experiences, or don't plan like you do and but still make the time. You have a choice. You're choosing to put an experience above the books or above the school, and to take that time and enjoy it with your kids. And as a mom of older kids, I think we can both say that, you know, we probably wish we would have done more of those, or if we did do plenty of those and we don't wish that we could do more, we remember those days and we appreciate those days. I remember taking our girls to the American Girl store.
Oh, yeah.
Taking Allison and Lily to the American Girl store on a school day and for Allison's birthday. And you can't get those moments back. Like, that is a memory that they will always have, I think. If not, it's a memory that I will always have. Because they enjoyed it.
Yes, and even if they don't remember it, it's still that relationship building that we were talking about.
Yes, that's true.
And I have found with my kids, even with Lily, who I sometimes stress out, after those Just Because We Can days or hours, sometimes it might be we're going to go on a bike ride for an hour and then we come home, you know, so it's not always a full day. But they often will generally attack their schoolwork with more vigor. I think even though it stresses her out a little bit sometimes, she needs that break. Like she needs to be pushed a little bit to just chill out.
Yes.
And to go do something fun and spontaneous. So I think it's good for her. Like I was talking about, you know, Grace's English and being good character building, even though she doesn't love it. I think these Just Because I Can days are good character building for Lily to have to learn to go with the flow a little bit, because there are times in life that you have to do that things don't go the way you plan. And so I think it's good. I think it's good for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do. So I'm curious though, because I just was talking about like what brings life to me. And you're right, with older kids, I do not regret at all any of the Just Because We Can days, any of the field trip days. I don't regret them. I don't think, oh, I wish we would have done science or math that day.
Yeah.
No, I'm so glad that we've taken as many as we have. And we do a lot. I do a lot of field trips because if I'm home all day, and I love being home, I love my house, but I guess I should say I need adventures. If I am not doing anything adventurous, I feel like I'm suffocating. And I need to do stuff out of the everyday ordinary because it's good for my own mental well-being and it's good for my kids. It's good for our relationships. So that's kind of what brings me life. Missy, I'm wondering what brings life into your homeschool? Like what makes you go, oh, I love this. This is why we homeschool.
Probably morning time. I love morning time. There's been something I think in the past 2 years that has just clicked with me about having the kids all back together, having the kids all together at the table, treasuring those moments with the wide age ranges. There's just been something about that. I feel like our school days are getting more like they were when the girls were younger and we did more things together. But it's better because I'm not so rigorous. I feel like I have experience. So I'm learning more to enjoy the disruptions. I'm learning more to treasure the time that we all have together. And I'm learning more, I feel like, about my kids and about what brings them life. So I think that for me, probably morning time, I've really, really enjoyed morning time, but also there've been quite a few days over the past school year where I've done exactly what you said. Like, hey guys, like we're done. Like, I don't care what you still have to do for the day. We're done. Let's go for a walk. Let's go meet some friends at the park. Let's go for a drive. I have been taking Allison every Sunday since January. Before she was legal, we did school parking lots. But she should have got her permit in March. She didn't get it until May because of COVID. But we've been going every Sunday after church, just she and I, and driving. I think connection, I feel like brings me life. And I think that I get that connection through morning time. I get that connection through taking one-on-one time with my kids. I think we get that connection through, just because we can, moments, days, field trips. I feel like that is really what's bringing me life because I'm realizing how little time I have left at home with the girls.
Yeah. The older they get, I think the more that we realize it goes so fast.
So, okay. So let's move on and let's talk about co-ops, homeschool groups, field trips. Our co-op is canceled. Our traditional co-op is canceled because of COVID. So we are not going to be having our traditional co-op, but we are instead going to be doing, 4 or 5 like outdoor, experiences. And so we've got those kind of planned. Instead, we're going to do those for the first semester. And because of COVID restrictions, like we're not able to take on any new members for co-op, which is really sad, but we're trying to keep our numbers down. It's crazy. It's different because there's so many people wanting to homeschool. And so I've had so many people messaging me, asking me about homeschooling, and I can help them, but I can't invite them to our regular homeschool group or our regular homeschool co-op because of all the COVID restrictions and guidelines and just trying to follow the rules, I guess, that have been set in place. So it's going to be different, like for us, for back to school. Like we normally really, really enjoy co-op. It's a huge part of our school year. And we're not going to be having that or doing a lot of traditional field trips and stuff. So what about you? How has that impacted your homeschool? Because you're in a different group than I'm in.
Yeah. I really don't know yet. So we didn't do co-op last year other than the history days that you and I did once a month.
Yeah.
Which I loved. So I have found I really enjoy co-op, but it stresses me out because where all of the parents help, and they should, if I'm teaching, there's that time planning and preparing. Misty and I, we both work. I work outside the home. And like I've mentioned several times, I'm a type B person. So adding more stuff that's like, I have to do this thing at this day at this time is really stressful to me, especially when I have to be on time somewhere, because that is not what I'm great at. And it's kind of embarrassing. There are times where I'll get to co-op with my 2 kids. That's 15 minutes from my house and we're late. And there's there are moms there with their 7 kids who drove an hour that are on time. So it's like super embarrassing, which I like co-op when we're there. I enjoy actually doing it. But it leaves less time for spontaneity. It leaves less time for field trips. So I don't do co-op all the time because of that.
Yeah.
We kind of find different ways for our kids to have connections with people. Sometimes we do co-op though. There are some seasons of life where I felt like this would be really good for the kids right now, and I can handle that. So we have done it before and have enjoyed it, but I've never been really sad that a co-op's ended. I'm always like, oh, okay, good. Now I don't have to add that onto my schedule again. So I guess for us, that's not going to look a lot different. I don't know about field trips yet. I will probably do things, nature, like state parks and stuff with the girls, even if we can't do them in groups, at least just take them and do stuff because like I said, it's good for me. But then some other things are up in the air still. Like if Lily does the early advent program, that'll be what she does. If she doesn't do it, I want her to do some kind of science. They have it at the Creation Museum.
Yeah, I saw that.
That looks so cool. And also the one that you're doing looks really cool too. I don't know if the deadline's already passed for that because it's coming up. I mean, in like a month. So
I think they're still opening. He's not told me that it's full.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, so if she doesn't do the early admit, I will probably want to put her in something like that just because that is an awesome way for her to earn lab credits for high school. Like, yeah, you guys will have to check out the link Misty's going to post because whenever I was reading about it, I'm just like, this is so cool.
I will say that one thing I'm looking forward to this year with back to school is honestly not having co-op. I think I'm going to miss it, but I do think that in the midst of COVID, in the midst of everything else, I think that it has encouraged us to hone in on relationships with like closer relationships, like picking a couple families to connect with and do things with. And I'm looking forward more to doing smaller field trips. Like, me and you can get the girls together. We don't do a lot of that because we're both so busy with our own homeschool groups. We're both so busy with other things, meeting you guys and doing a park or going to Carter Caves or going and doing something outdoors together. And smaller groups, I think, because our group is big. I mean, we have 80 kids. And so field trips don't really allow a lot of connection, honestly. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think that's one good thing that will probably come out of not having co-ops this year is maybe hopefully connecting more one-on-one in smaller groups. I think we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And I think that's something that has come out of the pandemic and people being quarantined has been, I know at least for our family, really kind of reevaluating our schedule.
Yes.
Because it had been nice to be home as a family more. And we were still busy. And my husband and I both worked from home. I was still in school, the girls still in school. So it's not like we were just sitting around, but we were home as a family and we ate lunch together every day and dinner together every night. And a lot of times he works late, so we don't always eat dinner together. And that was part of why we actually started these breakfasts together with the morning basket, because as soon as he went back to work, we all missed that.
Yeah.
And we're like, what can we do? We know we can't do lunch. And a lot of times dinner's hit or miss, but we're all here at breakfast time. So it's been nice because it's kind of helped us to think about how can we keep these connections or the parts of the quarantine that we've liked, and then he started working from home on Fridays, most Fridays. And that's been really nice because then he is here for lunch and dinner on Fridays. So it's been nice to kind of just reevaluate. And I think it's easy sometimes to get so involved in activities and even friends that we're not connecting with our families.
Yes, that's so true. Well, Davonne, this has been wonderful. And I'm probably going to end up splitting this into 2 episodes because we can talk all day.
I know, we're very chatty today.
and catch up with each other. So I will probably end up splitting this up into 2 episodes. So this has been awesome. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. I am at davonneparks.com, DAVONNEPARKS.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, all with the same name, Instagram.com/Davonne Parks, Facebook.com/Davonne Parks, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes it super easy for you guys to look me up.
Yep. And I will leave links as well in the show notes. Thank you, my friend. I'm so excited. I will chat with you later.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
This has been an episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. I thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take the time to leave a rating or review on iTunes or whatever platform it is that you use to listen to this podcast. That tells the powers to be I'm not talking to myself. Also, hit subscribe. Then you will catch every episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast each week right there in your podcast feed. You can find show notes and more at joyfullyhomeschooling.com and clicking on the episode number of the episode you are looking for. Thanks, guys. I hope this podcast encouraged you to head out there and have a more joyful homeschool.